Hey Dreamers, welcome to the assembly video for our Carnival confection stand. Today we're going to assemble a festive showstopper for your summer party table. This charming centerpiece is both playful and practical, holding up to 14 cake pops and a variety of sweet mini cupcakes. It's got a classic Carnival motif and a friendly clown topper, and it brings a touch of nostalgia and whimsy that guests of all ages will love. Now, one thing that we realized is that you may want to customize this for maybe a different occasion. In that case, you can literally just remove the topper. I'm not going to do it right now because this thing is getting ready to be photographed, but just change the papers, create your own topper. Maybe we'll even do a video showing you how you can create your own custom topper, and it would work for a variety of occasions. So definitely a one-of-a-kind sort of piece, and can't wait to show you how it goes together. So let's get started. Okay, so we're gonna start by building this, we're gonna start building the structure from the top down. And here is the topmost layer, okay? What we're gonna do is put our little panels in place first. So just need to, is it 6-sided? Yeah, 6-sided. And you simply just want to pop this on here with an even border all the way around. It's going to be flush top and bottom, but there's going to be a little bit of border on the left and right. Okay, so just make sure you get that centered. It's a little tricky, but if you just kind of use the score marks as your guide, and then just make sure that you have equal amounts of border on the left and right. Just kind of popping it right on there. Just like that. It's pretty straightforward. So one other thing too, and we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. In order for this to, well, have enough strength to support holding the cake pops, you are going to want to get a sheet of foam core. I was able to get all 6 pieces of the necessary foam core out of 1 piece of foam core. So I'll explain that in more detail in just a few moments here. But we need to get this glued down first. And the cool thing about this is, well, we did, obviously it has a circus theme, but we built it in a way where you can technically customize it. And I will explain that as well. For the most part, the main structure itself is very generic. Okay, so something different. I've never really done anything like this, but I think it's cool. All right, so got the panels in place. These little tabs here, we're going to use that for something else, but in the meantime, what you want to do is apply your glue to this tab here. I'm going to spread that glue out to the very edge. You can actually put this down flat, grab the other end, just bring it over and press that down, and it's already screaming circus. Okay, then what we're going to do is just kind of form it into this shape, and we're going to close it up. But we are going to have to apply glue to all of these tabs. Now, we may not get this to sit perfectly on our initial attempt, and you can go a little bit heavier with the glue here. It's totally fine, because you're not really going to see this piece. So it doesn't need to be totally perfect, and if it warps because of excess glue, it's okay. Focus on getting this side here aligned first. It should be nice and straight. And then you can take a look at the other sides here. Put that down flat on your surface and grab yourself a little dowel to push down on the tabs. And you know what, this one's relatively small, so I guess that worked out beautifully. Okay, next, what we're going to do, we're going to actually eventually Not just quite yet. We're going to flare these out. I'm going to grab this little piece here. Okay, this one has a little hole cut out of it. And you'll notice that there's a series of little triangular tabs. What we're going to do is take and put a little bit of glue on that triangular tab and then connect it with its neighbor to make it dimensional. Just a quick little dot of glue should do. Shouldn't take more than a few seconds for it to set. If it's taken any longer than that, you're probably applying a little too much glue, and you might want to just kind of rein in the horses a little bit. Just go a little easier. Okay. And then this one here. Pop that right behind and press and hold. And just kind of continue around the horn here. Kind of building a little skirt for this thing. There we go, a couple more to go. Pop that in. And the last one. Be careful with this one. You don't want to pull it back too much because it is connected on the other end. There we go. Okay, so that is the shape we're looking for. Okay, so next what we're going to do is we're going to feed this through like so. Then we're going to take and glue these tabs to the top of this. Okay, almost looks like a little top hat actually. I didn't even think of that. But let's get it anchored to one of them first, and then the rest of the process will go a lot easier for us. So go ahead and throw a little bit of glue on one of these tabs. It doesn't need to be perfect. Just want to make sure that you have it nice and centered. And just press that down. Then let's go over to the opposite side. Throw a little glue on there. Press and hold that down like so. Perfect. And then pick a tab, any tab, doesn't really matter. Throw a little glue on there. Press and hold that down. Then go to the opposite side. Again, just make sure that is, in fact, over. There we go. And that just leaves two more tabs. This little guy here. There we go. And the last one. There we go. Okay, so that now is connected. And what we're going to do is we're going to clean this off and finish it off by putting our little pattern paper on there. So you can do that. You can either put glue on the pattern or you can put glue here. I'm going to do it here. And now this one isn't very, this one's not really load bearing. So it's okay if it's a little more flimsy. Try to conserve as much paper as possible with all of our projects. Okay, we'll finish this off nicely. Polka dots work nicely with anything clown related, I think. All right, just get that nice and centered. You can then put that down on your surface, and if you want, you kind of use a dowel to go around the perimeter. Okay. There we go. Just make sure it's making good contact all the way around. It's nice and centered. Cool. Okay. And then we do have a nice little trim piece. It's going to go on like this. Okay. We want to get it nice and flush. So let's start with this piece here. Okay, and you really only need to put glue on the top portion of it. Let's get that nice and aligned and centered. Use the little score marks there to help you with the placement. Make sure it is flush with that pattern piece that we added there. Okay, I'm actually going to go ahead and apply my glue to the side of this, so I know exactly where it needs to go. And then again, use the little markers for the folds to help you with the placement of this. I want everything to be nice and flush. Okay, and then you can kind of take your finger, pop it in there like that. There we go. Just press that into place, like so. Okay, then we can flare this out and apply our glue to the next section. Fold that over. Again, just do your best to make sure that the top of this is flush and aligned with the top of this pattern. So everything looks good and seamless. Now we're going to leave this one alone for now. We're not going to glue that down just yet. Okay, we're going to head back over here and we're going to glue this tab down like so. Okay, let's take a look at that. That looks nice. Then we'll grab this piece now, and we're going to glue this one on top of that tab, like so. So you can actually go ahead and apply your glue to this section here. Press that into place. There we go. Now this is glitter on top of glitter. It might take a few extra moments to kind of get tacky and set. So if you're, I'm sorry, not glitter, foil. So if you are using the same materials as I am, take your time. We'll probably have a kit for this, since all these papers we actually just picked up from 12 by 12 cardstock shop. So they should have the exact papers we used, maybe except for the polka dot, which is from a DCWV LeBlanc stack, I believe. Okay, get that glued in place. Beautiful. Okay, now we'll flare this back. Apply our glue here. Bring this one down. Again, making sure everything's nice and flush. Then we can glue this tab down. The tab's there just in case things don't match up perfectly. Kind of hides any of that white that may remain if you kind of goof up while you're assembling, but you're not going to do that. You're going to be just fine. I'm going to hold that until it fully sets. Okay, this is the little section that we're going to put a rosette on and then put our little clown on. But let's take a look at the end result, and that is looking like a circus. I'm digging it. Okay, so next we're going to build the main column. Okay, and the main column is made up of these two pieces, which we will need to join together. And I'm going to start by applying glue to this tab here. And then you can spread that glue out, thin it out, and we'll get these two sections connected to make it one continuous section. Pardon my head if it's getting in the frame. There we go. Press that down. Okay. And go ahead and fold it on itself. Take a look, make sure everything is good, and it is. And then what we can do is, actually, while we have it flat, let's put our panels on. Just like we did with that top layer, this is gonna be the same thing. So it's gonna be flush top to bottom with a little bit of a border left and right. And again, customizing this, it's just gonna be a matter of changing literally maybe one pattern for the main structure and then omitting the clown and adding something else on top, which can be pretty much any 2D element. I think most of you are savvy enough to maybe even design something or find something that you can just cut out and put on top. You can do, you can weld some letters together, make a little birthday caption. I think as the cliche goes, the possibilities are endless with this, which is what crafting is kind of all about anyway, is making something your own. If you make it the exact way we did, that's fine too. A lot of you do. I love seeing that. Okay. I think there's a couple people I have in mind that I know are gonna take this project and make it their own. But now, you know what's cool too? Well, just based on these papers that we're using here, this could be super festive for the 4th of July too, if you omit the clown. We do have a, do we have an eagle cake topper? Yeah, I think we have like an eagle cake topper, which would look really cool on this. And the way that we're connecting the top, the clown on top to this is by simply just sandwiching a hibachi stick through the center of it and then gluing it to the rosette. So there's nothing proprietary about this where you can't customize it. Okay, put the last one in place here. And I was a little concerned about this pattern potentially not working because of the direction of the stripes, but it's actually going to be fine. I think it's going to turn out really nice. All right, so now that we have this, we're going to take it and close it up by applying some glue to this tab. Now we're going to make it dimensional. You can actually put this down flat, grab the other end, and it should just kind of magically fit. Sometimes it doesn't fit perfectly because, well, it's paper. So I'll just fold it over onto that seam and press down right there. I did hit this with a little bit of ink. It's very subtle. All right, and then push these tabs in. We're gonna close it up. Almost looks like a little popcorn box. Seeing all kinds of possibilities here, but we have one of those already, so no big deal. And again, this top and bottom are not really going to be seen. So if you're going to make a boo-boo somewhere, get it out of your system here. Okay, I'll spread that glue out to the very edges. And just like we did with the other one, you're going to focus on getting it aligned with this piece here, or this side here first. Let's make sure we can get this down flat. Okay, get that out of the way. Get that nice and centered and flush out to the edge. And then you can kind of nudge in the rest of the walls. Get that beautifully aligned. There we go. And take this and flip it over real quick. Push down on the rest of the tabs. Kind of run that dowel right along the very edge to help push that down even more. And that is beautiful. Okay, which also helps this part here, since it's already kind of taken its shape. I'm going to go a little bit heavier on the glue here. We've got a lot of surface to cover, and that glue tends to dry quickly, hence the brand. Well, it doesn't even call it quick dry anymore. I thought it was quick dry. Yeah, that's going to be Might need to clean that one up. But again, go ahead and focus on this side here. Get that aligned and centered. And then the rest of the tabs should just fall into place, and they do. Beautiful. And just keep kind of running your finger around the perimeter here. Okay, so this is our main support column. And that's pretty easy. Don't stop yet. I don't want it to pull away. Give it a few moments to really, really grab those tabs. And there we go. Okay, so I already did this off camera, but what you're gonna do, you're gonna have two templates that look like this. Okay, you'll see that there's a T on here and then a Roman numeral 2. And here's a T with a kind of a square with 4 dashes. You need to cut 4 of these. You need to cut 2 of these. Okay, that's what those things indicate. And all I did was I took and I simply, it's kind of a big piece here, I laid it on my foam core and just took a very fine tip marker and just kind of traced around it. I made 4 of these, and then I took an X-Acto and I cut it out. So this is, you're gonna need this to hold the cake pops in place vertically. Now, yeah, so you can see you're gonna do 4 of these, and then the same process with this. This one sheet was enough for all of the foam core, so a couple bucks, okay? And this is what it's gonna look like. I guess my blade probably wasn't the sharpest, but we have 4 of these, okay? And we're gonna glue these all together with some hot glue. But before we do that, we need to put together the actual base, which I have here in front of me. Okay, these pieces here are gonna make up the wall. And then there's a top and bottom, and then some trim to go around. Okay, and these do need to go in a specific order, because you'll see that 2 of them do not have any tabs on them. So what we need to do is apply glue to, we'll grab one of these that has a tab on it. And this is mostly going to be covered up, but we still want to make sure that it is put together accurately. Okay, and you can take it and fold it on itself. These angles here should match up with the layer behind it, and that is a good indicator that you've got it lined up properly. Okay, and we can take the other one with tabs on it and connect it to the other side that does not have tabs. If we had a machine and paper that was long enough, this could all be one seamless piece, but obviously it had to be broken down. Okay, press that into place there, fold it over on top of itself, check those angles. There we go. Okay, so now we have 4 of them connected. Now we're going to take this piece, this one also does not have any tabs on it, and we're going to apply glue to this 4-piece section that already has tabs. We're going to join this, we're going to make this all one seamless piece. And that reminds me here, I need to start getting my hot glue gun fired up. Okay, I'm going to fold this over onto itself, press down, like so. There we go. And now you can take and connect this piece to make it continuous and seamless. Go ahead and apply your glue there. Grab the other end. You could technically put this down flat and it should meet up perfectly. Take it and fold it over onto itself. Again, checking that angle. And now we have our walls, so to speak. Okay, so here's what we're going to do next. We need to start kind of forming this. Oops. Okay, well, I jumped the gun there. Let's try this again. Be patient. Let everything set before you move on, which I obviously did not do. Reconnect that. Give that a few seconds. Okay, and just be patient. All right, so we have this part here with the little hole, the larger holes, is going to be the top layer, and that's going to go on top like this. Okay, and then we have a bottom, and it doesn't matter which side is the bottom, which side is the top, but what we are going to do right now is take this white piece and we're going to anchor it to just one of the tabs for now. We need to start it off right by anchoring it to one tab. Okay, whoops. Get it nice and centered, right out to the very edge of this dimensional piece that we just built. You can actually take it then, and once you have it lined up, push down from the inside. There we go. Okay, and then a couple ways about this that might make it easier, because this is a pretty large piece. Okay, what we could do is we could glue it to this side first and then paint the rest of it. I think that's probably the safest bet. So that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna flip this out for a second. Like so, let's apply glue to this tab. And I'm totally okay with that because the other side is still open and we can get our hands in there. This will just be a lot safer and the end result will be more accurate. So let's go ahead and take this now, and we're going to align this as accurately as possible. Make sure it's centered all the way out to the edge. Press that down. Okay, once it's sort of got a hold, you can flip it over and push down on that tab from the inside, like so. Yeah, and it's not difficult at all. This is probably one of the easier projects, actually. Okay, so now, so we have two sides glued down, and what we can do, go ahead and grab yourself a few pieces of scrap, and we're gonna actually load the glue on here pretty thick. And then what we're gonna do is I'm gonna take and paint the glue onto the tabs. Rather than trying to get your glue bottle in there, we're just going to do it like this. And that just makes it so much easier. There we go. That's nice. You can push down from the inside, get the rest of that tab in place. Beautiful seamless seams. Seamless seams. Sometimes I feel like I'm just making stuff up as I go. Okay. And then got this one here. Again, lay it on kind of thick. And then paint that glue right onto the tab, all the way across. Like so. Line that up. Beautiful. And put that down on your surface. Press down from the inside. Here comes my kitty. Hey, buddy. Hi. What are you doing? Yeah? I know. Okay. I know. Dad's working, okay? All right, so that leaves two more sides that we need to take care of. Again, apply your glue onto your scrap and then just paint it onto the tab and just run it back and forth a few times to make sure that you spread it out as evenly as possible. I feel like I need a little bit more on this side here. I usually just get rid of those the scraps so that they're not laying around and I accidentally get it on my hands or on some other paper. Pretty much just disposable little pieces. Okay, there we go. And that just leaves one more. This, again, is the safe way of doing it. We could have tried to put glue on all of the tabs in one fell swoop, but I just, from experience, know that that usually ends up being a disaster. So, okay, last one. I threw a little bit of glue on this, and I did not do that very evenly. There we go. Paint that right on there. Get rid of that. And that is perfect. Look at that. You see? There we go. Press that down. Beautiful. Okay, so here's where we're going to need our hot glue. We're going to take and start gluing these. Actually, you don't even need hot glue. What am I talking about? You can do this with regular glue. I think the hot glue is going to come into play when we I'm just going to put a little ring of glue around like this and just pop that right in there. And we're just going to keep layering this until we have all 4 pieces inside. Just get these tabs out of the way. Just make sure it's good and centered. I made the template a little bit smaller than the actual base itself, just to, you know, account for human error and such. All right, and go ahead and put your next layer of glue on there. You could do hot glue if you want, but honestly I think that this glue is a little better than hot glue. I just sometimes have bad luck with hot glue, I think. There we go. And the next layer. Okay. That's that. Looks good. And the last layer here. I need to refill my bottle here. Okay. Pop that in there, and these 4 layers are going to really help keep those cake pops nice and vertical for us, which is the whole idea here. We're going to use a hibachi stick to actually poke the holes in there. Now, the beautiful part about this is that now we have a surface so that we can actually glue this right on top, like so. Okay, so we're going to go with the gold layer first. I am going to, just because it's smart, I'm going to anchor this first. And if we don't happen to get it all in one fell swoop, we can always, again, use the little painting method that I just used to finish it off, but get that lined up nicely. And it's so nice having that foam core underneath there so that you can have something to push down against. Okay, just keep holding that, especially if you're using the glitter, or the foil I should say. It might take an extra second or 2 to really grab on. Okay, nice solid base. And let's see, are you done? You got it? Okay, it's got it. I think I might be able to pull this off, so I'm going to give it a go. It's a lot of real estate. I'm a little concerned about how the foil is going to handle the glue, if it's going to warp or not. I don't think I've really used this style of foil before. Okay, let's spread that out to the very edges. Might have to do a little bit of cleanup, but that's okay. As long as you thin it out, usually it won't warp the paper. All right, so let's do this. Let's go over to the other side, the side opposite of where it's already anchored, and get that lined up first. Make sure it's centered out to the edge, and then work your way around the remaining parts of the perimeter. There we go. And that worked out perfect. Okay, and then I'm just gonna keep kind of going around, pushing down. We've got that foam core inside, giving us a nice platform to push up against, and I'm digging it. That came out super awesome. Just keep on going here until it sets. Especially with this foil, you just never know how it's going to behave. So better safe than sorry. Give it a few extra moments to really set. And that is perfect. feel like I could build a house with something like this. All right, next, I'm gonna take this layer, and this is gonna get glued down right on top. We wanna make sure that we try to center this as accurately as possible so that these little circles are inside of these circles. And I'm just gonna put my glue on this piece here. Focus on the perimeter, the very edge here. Okay. And let's get this on. Focus on at least 3 of the dots. Make sure they're centered. And the rest of them should, for the most part, fall into place. You might need to nudge them ever so slightly. As long as they're in the ballpark, you'll be fine. There we go. Okay. Press that down. And you can see here we have some markers for where the main column is going to go. It's going to make it easy for us to figure out the placement on that, keeping everything nice and centered and symmetrical. Okay, there we go. That looks nice. So again, this is going to go right here. You're going to use those little markers to pop that right in the center, like so. And yeah, we could do that now, why not? Go ahead and apply your glue to the bottom of this. You can go a little bit thicker with this. I really want it to kind of stay in place. And it doesn't really matter which side is which. It's pretty much identical all the way around. Just make sure you have it in between or in the center of those guides, and then just give that a good press. Okay, so there is part of our base. Yeah, once we get the gold in there, it's going to really set it off and look pretty awesome. Definitely something unique. That's what we're trying to do. I could see this for Christmas. I could see this for birthdays, using different papers, obviously. All right, so next, we're going to find these 3 gold strips. Okay, and this is going to be, you'll notice that there's a little tab on one end of all of these. Okay, and then there's also a fold in the center. And what we're going to do is we are going to glue this around like so to kind of create a nice little decorative touch to this. Keep pushing that down, make sure it's. And what we want to do, you do not want to glue the side or the section without the tab. You want to start with the section that has the tab on it, okay? And what we'll do is apply glue to this rather than putting it on the trim, just because the trim kind of extends beyond this section, and we don't know exactly where to not put the glue. And I'm going to use my table to kind of help me with the placement of this, and also use the fold there to help you kind of figure out the centering on it. Okay, and push that up against this wall as far as it'll go. There we go. Should be flush on the bottom. And then this little tab here, we're going to flare this back ever so slightly and just throw a little bit of glue right at the very edge of that so we can fold that tab over against the next section. Okay, and again, that is sort of a lifeline in case things don't match up perfectly. Now we're going to take the next piece and glue that right on like that over that tab. Okay, so what you can do here is start applying your glue to the white section here, and then we'll have a little bit of glue on the tab, but keep it below this line here. Okay, so this is the side without the tab. Use your table to kind of guide you. Pop that on there, make sure that this, pardon my head, folds over at the fold. Make sure you don't have any glue on your fingers. Foil does not not very forgiving. I know some of you have told me that with a little bit of water, or maybe even a pencil eraser, I think, you were able to get any little remnants of glue off of it. But again, better safe than sorry. Okay, and then we'll head over to this side here, and we can apply our glue to this section. Use your table again, and that should match up perfectly, meaning that little tab at the end should fold over and end up on this wall here pretty effortlessly. Yeah, this is gonna be a nice little piece. Okay, nice and flush on the bottom. That looks great. Let's flare this tab out of the way so we can get a little bit of glue in there and push that tab onto that surface and press and hold. Give that a second. Or a couple seconds, maybe 30, just to be safe. Okay, and now you can apply your glue to that tab as well as the rest of this side. And we're going to grab this final piece, starting with the side that does not have the tab. Line that up with the very edge of that little tab and push it against the wall. Make sure that it folds right at that corner. Make sure it's flush with your table. You can kind of give it a little push down. There we go. Let's take a look at that base. That looks nice. Okay. And then we can flare this out and apply our glue to this section now. And you get the idea. This is probably the most involved because of the size of it. Okay, again, using my surface as a helper, pushing it down all the way. And press that up against the side. There we go. Right. Okay, and then finally, I'm just going to close this up. There is one more tab here. I'm going to put some glue underneath. And then on top as well. I think we can just kind of do this in one fell swoop. Like so. Put that down on your surface and push that down. Then we have one more layer that's going to actually go on top of that too, so that we have a little bit of gold, and then we also have that stripe pattern to kind of add a little continuation to the overall circusy look, which again is going to be really cool if you customize this for another occasion. But that looks really nice. Okay, so just like we did before, okay, you'll notice that we do have tabs on one side. So we're going to start like this with the side with the tab, and that's going to get glued like that. So let's do that. Okay, and this is going to be flush with the bottom, so that just the top of the gold part is showing. And make sure it is matching up with the corners. And then push down. Again, use the table as a guide. Make sure it's flush with the bottom. It's a very easy way of making sure you're getting it right. See, looks nice. Then we can flare this little tab up. Throw a little bit of glue right here. Just be careful not to go too high. And press that down. Give it a second to grab. There we go. We'll grab the next piece, starting with the side that does not have the tab. Go ahead and apply your glue. And get that nice and centered on there. Follow it over, making sure that it's flush and matching up with the corner. And push down. That's going to look awesome. Okay, so you can see what that's looking like. Brilliant, as they say in the UK. All right, let's get this one glued down. And let's throw a little bit on that tab while we're here. Oops. Okay, everything's matching up perfectly so far, as it should. Most of our stuff, if not all of it, does. There's always the possibility of a machine sort of miscutting something, but that again is why we kind of add those little tabs at the end so that they can go over the corner in case the next piece just doesn't quite match up. We're always trying to kind of hide any little imperfections whenever possible. Okay, and then keep on cruising here. I'm going to start with the side without the tab. I'm checking my time here. Fold it over, just make sure it's all matching up. Flush with the bottom. It's looking nice. You can see that. Okay. This is actually sticking to the foil nicely, and I think it's because it has that texture on it, which is always helpful. All right, we'll throw some glue on this piece and get a little bit on that little tab at the end. Okay. A little extra glue on there, that's okay. There we go. And then finally, to close it up, you can flare this last section out, apply your glue all the way out to the edge, and close it up. And that is as good as it gets as far as accuracy goes. Can't complain. Okay. Yeah, that's going to be a winner. I dig it. Okay, so making some good progress here. We have the main base done, the top tier done. We need to put together the middle tier, and the process is going to be pretty much the same here. So this is the main part of it, and just like we did before, this one's a tiny bit different, but we're going to start by applying glue to these little triangular tabs here, bringing in the neighboring wall, lining it up so it's nice and straight, and pushing that together. Should only take a second. Should go pretty quick. Since it's a tiny little tab, don't overdo it on the glue. It's nice and easy. Bring that in, line it up, and press and hold. And again, because we have, well, we will have the foam core in there, it's going to make putting the other section on a breeze. Okay, there we go, lining that up. Essentially building a 3D platform. Uh-oh. Make sure you give it a few seconds so that it really sets, and I guess that glue maybe didn't have enough of it on there. Let's give that another shot. Again, this is a pretty straightforward project. The base is, I mean, it's a little bit of work, you know, gluing all the different sections together, but it goes pretty quick, relatively speaking. Okay. Pop that in there. Just be patient as they're little tiny tabs that are doing a lot of work. So we want to be patient and make sure that they are getting a good hold. There we go. A couple more to go. There we go. We'll tuck that in. And press and hold. And there's one left. Now with that last one, you want to be a little extra careful. I mean, by the time we get there, this one should have a pretty good hold on it, but try not to pull those walls apart so we don't rip anything here. And that's the last one. And then just like we did with the first two sections, there's a beautiful gold trim piece that we'll be adding around the perimeter. I'll show you how that goes together in a second. Okay, all right, so we have that. We're gonna flare these up so that we can get our foam in here. Okay, so this is where the two pieces are gonna go. So you can take and just apply a little bit of glue right in here to keep that put. And move those tabs out of the way. Don't crush anything. Okay, there we go. Make sure it's good and centered. This is where the little mini cupcakes are going to go. And then a little more glue on the next layer, just to kind of keep it in place. And I have looks like this tab came undone, which is okay. You can always fix it, especially now that you kind of have something to push up against. It'll be fine. And if you need to, you can kind of push up against it from the inside. There we go. Okay, so we're going to take these tabs and press them down, and here is the top. And just like we did before, we're going to begin by anchoring it to one of the tabs first. Okay, like so. And grab this piece, pop it right on there, make sure it's centered and out to the very edge. Press that down. Again, we've got that foam core underneath, so we've got something to push up against. Just gonna make it so much easier. Okay, once we have that, we can flare it out, and let's apply glue to the remaining tabs. You can go a little bit heavier here, not too much. I always worry about it getting too wet and then the paper kind of getting warped from the moisture, which happens. Oh, that is already dry to the bone, which is strange. It's rather humid out. Okay, so focus on this side first here. Get that centered and out to the edge. And then go ahead and push in the remaining walls and press down to get that in place. There we go. Beautiful. There is our next platform, and honestly after this, the only thing we have to do is put our little clown together, and this thing's pretty much wrapped up, which I don't know how I have so much glue all over me. I am kind of a disaster this morning. There we go. Clean that off. Let's take a look here. Yeah, and if you have any little gaps, it's a good time to grab your scrap paper and you can just apply a tiny little bit of glue to the tip of your scrap and just pop it right in between any little area that might be sticking up. Now, honestly, once we get the little gold sections in place, you won't even notice that, but I have OCD, and plus this is going on the website, so it needs to look really nice, and it will. All right, so let's grab our trim pieces. Now you'll notice here that, again, one section does have little tabs. Okay, make sure you fold those over. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to start with the section that has a little tab on it. We're going to glue that down first. Make sure it's good and centered. And just like we did before, make sure that this is up, facing up. You don't want it this way. Go ahead and apply your glue to the side. Okay, and then you can take and literally, again, use your table as a guide and use it as a platform so that you know that it's nice and aligned with the bottom, because it can't really penetrate through the table, obviously, and you can see that that is nice and flush with the bottom. And we can take and I'm going to put glue on just this bottom tab. Obviously that top one doesn't have anything to stick to just yet. That's for later. Okay, we're going to leave this alone. And we're going to go over here and grab this next piece. We're going to start with the side that does not have the tab. Okay, and we're going to apply glue here. Throw some on the tab and then on that little tiny tab there as well. You could spread that thin if you want. Not necessary. And you want to align that like so. Make sure it's flush with the bottom. And then this little tab that was kind of floating in space, you want to connect that to the top part of the little scallop pattern. And just make sure that that connects nicely and gets a good hold. Okay, so it should look like that on the corner. That looks nice. Give that a second. Just be careful of this little corner here. I'm going to give it ample time to dry. Okay, you can flare this out now. And let's apply our glue to the base. Okay, and pop that on there. Use our table. Just push this down as far as it'll go. Just like that. Okay. And we can take and we'll glue this tab down. Press that down. Make sure it gets a good hold. And then we'll grab the last piece here. Again, starting with the side that does not have the tab. Throw some glue on the platform on the side here. Uh-oh. And then a little bit of glue on the tab portion. Spread that thin. I had a little bit too much shoot out there at the end. Okay, line that up. Find that corner and then connect the little floating tab. Connect the edges together. There we go. Beautiful. Use that table to help you get it nice and flush. There we go. Okay. Then we can head over here. Apply our glue to the platform. Pushing that down against my table, pushing it up against the base. There we go. Beautiful. Looking good. And let's move this out of the way temporarily. Let's glue the tab down. Right there. Press that up against the base. And then finally, let's close it up. Throw some glue on the tab, on the base, and then on that hanging tab there. And let's close it up. Perfect fit. And don't forget about that little hanging tab there. I'm just going to hold that for a few extra seconds, make sure it's grabbing on. There we go. Okay, there we go. So that one's ready. Okay, so all the platforms are basically done now. This is already glued in place. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. You can see here that we do have little markers, and that's to help you with the positioning of this. And then we have markers here to help you with the positioning of this. And this is going to be super, super stable once all is said and done. So let's go ahead, and what I want to do is we're going to actually just put glue on this surface. I might need to reload my glue here. I'm going to go a little bit heavier on the glue since I really need it to do a lot of work here. Spread that all the way out to the edge. Okay, and then I'm going to take this, and you can do it at whatever angle works best for you. Just need to pop that right on there using the little markers. So this should be straight on this side. You need to nudge it a little bit. And then if you need to, just kind of grab it, flip it over, and just look at the alignment. And that looks perfect. Okay, so that is all set. And then we're going to take this platform, and we're going to put glue on the bottom of this. And get that glued into place. Spread that out to the edge. Okay, and then use the little markers here. And it doesn't really matter which side you're putting it on as long as you're fitting it in between the little markers. Perfect. Just gently press down, make sure it's making good contact throughout. And there is your beautiful platform. Let's see what that looks like. Awesome, dig it. Okay, so we're gonna be building 2 sets of clowns. Okay, and I've got everything divided here so that there's, well, equal amount of pieces for each clown. Okay, and we're gonna start with the black layer. And then on top of the black layer, we're gonna glue this red layer down. This is vermilion. Okay, let me clean off that nozzle, looking yucky. Let's get that going. This is pretty straightforward. So again, this is where, you know, we didn't integrate this into the project, but made it, well, it's integrated as far as design, but not as far as the structure goes. So you have your base, and what you do with it on top is completely up to you. So you can definitely customize this for a variety of different occasions, which is really cool. Okay, so got that. Okay, now one thing to keep in mind here, that this white piece is going to be different as far as where the eye is. So make sure you grab the correct white piece to put on top of the red, because you'll notice if you take this one, the eye that's winking is on the opposite side. So you don't want to get those confused. Okay, next we can put the hat on. Okay. Just get that lined up. There we go. He's got his little party hat on. He's ready to go. And let's add our little pom-pom. Our glittery pom-pom. There we go. Okay. And you can put one of the eyes in place. This is very simple. You could probably even have one of your kids help you with this part, since most of the pieces are relatively large and pretty easy to work with, I'd say. Get that lined up. And let's get the star little diamond paint on his other eye, like so. That looks cute. There we go. How about we give him a nose? The little white highlight, let's put that at about 2 o'clock. Okay, so right about there, I'd say. And there's a little marker to help you with the placement of the nose. Okay, we have some pink little cheeks for him. Pop those in there. And then we're just going to layer the hair, which is pretty straightforward. We're going to start with the larger pieces, and they're going to go like this. You want to just kind of get them centered And I just want to make sure that I'm doing this correctly. That is correct. Just try to center them as best as you can. Throw a little bit of glue on there. Hey, I missed a spot. What's wrong with you, Leo? What are you doing? And I did ink this with a little bit of red. Whoops. There we go. And then this guy's going to go right here. Just follow the contour of the little circle, his head. And just try to center that as best as you can, like that. So there we go. That looks nice. Okay. Get this one in here as well. Try to get that centered. Just leave a little bit of room around the other scallops there. I guess that's what I mean by centered. If it's a little bit off, it's okay. I can't imagine that a clown's hair is ever like salon perfect anyway. There we go. Okay, so there's the first side. Okay, so we're going to repeat that process one more time, literally verbatim. And then, yeah, it's actually not that bad of a project. I think, I don't know, you could whip something up like this, not including cutting. I think the cutting took me about, with my Caesar, probably about 30 minutes, maybe a little bit longer. I usually listen to like a podcast while I'm cutting, and I don't think I finished it. And I think the podcast usually runs about 45 to an hour, so I think it's relatively quick. Well, with the Caesar. With other machines, it might take a little longer, maybe, especially the Cricut. I think it's going to take a little bit longer because of its workflow, but it's not too bad. I think it's going to be a really cute project. And I'm kind of looking forward to seeing how you guys customize it, especially. Because I know this one lends itself to some really cool customization. And if you want to, you don't necessarily have to keep the holes for the cake pops, although I know they're popular, which is why we kind of centered it around cake pops, but you could technically omit those holes and just put like more small cupcakes on there instead, if that's what you want to do. It's totally up to you. Okay, let's get that in there. That looks cute. And let's get his cheeks. Pop that on there. We also have to make a rosette. It's been a while since we made a rosette. I think that's going to look nice. Okay, let's get his eyeballs in place. That's the fun part about working with circus or carnival themed stuff. You can get kind of crazy with the colors and you don't have to really worry too much about things not working out because carnivals are pretty colorful for the most part. There we go. Let's get his nose in there, and again, the little highlight part, probably around the 2 o'clock, roughly. There we go. And let's get the hair going. I'm gonna just put these down first just to make sure that they look okay. And yeah, you know, there's really no wrong way to do it. As long as it hugs that circle, his head, you're fine. Just try to center it as best as you can. Bring it down a little bit and get the last 2 sections in place. Nice. Okay. Yeah, and the inking really helps separate these layers. Kind of creates some additional depth for us. There we go. Okay, that looks nice. All right, cool. So we've got our 2 clowns. Now, one other thing that we need to do You want to grab a dowel for this. These little flower looking things, what we're going to do is you're going to take and place each of these petals between your finger and the dowel, lift it up about 45 degrees, and then just run the dowel through. It's going to bring these to life a little bit, make them stand up. I'm going to flatten out just a tiny bit. And we're going to glue these on top of each other, offsetting them a little bit. Okay, I'll show you how that all works in just a second. Okay, so we're going to take and just apply glue to the center of this, like so. Grab, this is the largest piece, this is the second largest. Connect them at the circle, but make sure that they're offset so that the petals are not on top of each other. It's kind of like making a flower. Then grab your glue again, a little bit of glue in the center, take the smallest, offset it so that the petals are not on top of each other. You want each one to kind of have its own little space. There we go. Okay, so the way this is going to work, this is going to sit like this. Okay, but that's going to sit on top of a rosette as well. Okay, so speaking of the rosette, here's one of the pieces of the rosette. And on one of them, you're going to start on one end and you're going to do a valley fold. It's going to be a V fold. Okay, so you're going to do that and go back and forth until it's all folded all the way down, like so. Okay, so you're going to alternate. You're going to do a valley fold, valley, mountain, valley, mountain. You're going to go back and forth. So with this one, we started with a valley fold. On the other one, we're going to start with a mountain fold. So you're going to fold it the other way. So not like this. You're going to fold it like this, like a mountain. So the two ends should be mountain folds. Okay, and then what we need to do is actually join these together. So what I'm going to do is put glue on one section here, on one side. Okay, and then I'm going to take the other one and glue that right on top of that. You can kind of squeeze them together a little bit if you want to just kind of go like that. And then just kind of keep holding and squeezing at the point of contact until it's fully set. Okay, so now we have one continuous piece. Make sure everything remains folded. And then we'll go to the end with the valley fold. Throw a little glue on there. You're going to take the other end of this. And actually what you can do is you can just glue it like this. Even though it's not formed as a rosette yet, it will be. Just go ahead and press that together. It's okay if it's like this. It's just easier to glue it this way. Okay, so now it's all one continuous piece. And then just very gently kind of grab the top and bring it in. Okay, so there's your rosette. Now what you can do to kind of help it keep its shape, and by the way, this is what's going to hold the dowel in place. Okay. Okay, so the next step is to take and we're going to hot glue the rosette to the top of this platform here. So we definitely want to use hot glue for this. It's just a lot easier when you're working with a rosette. And you can actually throw a little bit around the perimeter as well, just to help it kind of stick. Gotta work quick. That's one thing about rosettes and hot glue. They're just, make sure you keep it nice and tight, and just make sure it's centered. And there it is. Okay, so that should stick for us, hopefully. I don't know if I got that hot glue hot enough. I think I did. Yeah, I think it's, are you good? Yeah, I think I got it. Okay, and then what we're gonna do is you can either glue or hot glue. This is gonna go right on top here. You wanna make sure that you get that centered on top of that hole as well. And I guess, yeah, I'm gonna hot glue it. I'll just throw a little bit around the hole here. Okay. Keep that glue hot because I'm gonna need it. Just line that up with that little hole there. Make sure that's good and centered. Perfect. Okay, now for our clown, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take a hibachi stick and you wanna kind of find the center line on this thing, okay? So if you have to use a ruler, that's fine. You can eyeball it if you want. What we need to do is make sure that we get this glued straight down the center. I'm gonna use this, no, that's not long enough. My ruler is over by my desk. Just gonna draw a straight line here. I think it's gonna be straight. We'll do our best. Just wanna make sure I get that stick nice and centered in the middle. Find that other dot. There we go. If it's a tiny bit off, it's not the end of the world, but you want to try to get it centered as best as you can. Okay, so we're going to probably terminate it about here. We're going to have to obviously chop this, but what I want to do now is take and I'm going to apply a line of hot glue right down the center of this to about there. Okay, take your hibachi, get that nice and centered. There we go. Make sure it's nice and vertical. Okay, that looks good. And then what we're gonna do, I'm gonna use some foam squares, I think, to get this on there so I don't have to use any more hot glue. And with a series of, with a series of foam squares, we'll connect the two sides together to make it so that you see the clown on both sides, and it'll kind of hide the stick. And then the stick, we're going to cut strategically so that we can hot glue it into the center of our rosette. Okay, so let's peel this off. And then this thing is pretty much, we have a caption that we still need to assemble, but that only takes a few seconds. And the coffee is hitting me super hard today. What a cute project. Yeah, so, you know, making a topper like this, you could find essentially any 2D element, make two of them, and then just sandwich them together like I just did. Okay, and they are, you just have to make sure you mirror it. If it's not a, what's it called? A symmetrical shape. There we go. Okay, pretty happy with that. And so, again, this is only gonna go down maybe about that much, okay? Now, technically, if you want, you can kind of poke it through so a little bit more goes down there. That's totally fine, okay? But I would, it would be helpful to have a little craft saw, but I think this is thin enough to where I'm just gonna take a pair of little pliers and just cut it to about here. Okay, hopefully there's no one there. Okay, well, I'm gonna poke a hole with something else. Maybe this thing. There we go. I don't know what the heck that was. It's probably asbestos. I'm just kidding. All right, and I'll feed that through. Yeah, so you don't even need to hot glue it. But I'm going to for good measure, but that stick is gonna hold it in there very nicely. Okay, so again, I would throw a little hot glue in there just for good measure, but you can see that that is ready to go. Now let's take a look at one more thing here, and that is the little caption here. It's just 3 layers. I'm gonna start by taking this gold layer and gluing it to the solid white. Okay, doesn't matter how it goes on at this point. It's that last layer that will matter. Okay, there we go. And then this is the little birthday caption. Just want to make sure that you line it up correctly so that the little cutouts for the A, P, B, R match up properly. And we'll put some glue on here, especially around the perimeter. and hit those little areas with like the H and the Y, so those little areas don't get snagged. Okay, and then pop that into place. And then you can literally just glue this on whichever side you want on the very bottom of the base. Make sure that that's nice and centered. Yeah, it's very shiny. That's okay. And again, you can put that right on the front, right here. I'm probably gonna pop dot it, add some dimension to it, but that is gonna do it. So yeah, take a look at the final photo. You'll see where I put my cupcakes. Oh, and also, you know what? I should probably show this real quick. Let me grab a cake pop. Now, obviously, for this tier here, you don't need to do anything special. But for the cake pops, what I would suggest doing is taking a hibachi stick and just kind of starting the hole. Poke it down as far as it'll go. Hey, Siri, stop. And then take your cake pop and just pop it through. And you can see that it'll hold it nicely, okay? So that's gonna do it.